Last week, Daily Monitor aired an exceptionally interesting report regarding the status of sex work in Uganda. A number of statistics were relayed, amongst which include that 32% of the sex workers were between the ages of 15 to 24, 47% had access to an education level or a primary education level, 78% had financial dependence, and 70% reported that they had been homeless at some point of their life. Daily Monitor also went ahead to air that 98% of these sex workers were Ugandan, with the remainder of the 2% being of foreign origin. In addition to this, New Vision has aired a report some time before, speaking of the status of sex workers' HIV status, in which 54% were reported to be HIV positive. In light of these very interesting statistics, today we'll bring you a conversation regarding the status of sex work in Uganda, the causes and its challenges. And for an industry that is often stigmatized, we bring you a humanized angle to this conversation, where moral judgments are placed aside, and now we speak of their access to services. We bring you the voices of the sex workers themselves. We bring you their labor rights, their access to health facilities, mental health facilities, the culture dynamics around this all. So today on Women Speaking, we have a very interesting panel that will be bringing you this conversation. I shall introduce them from my extreme left coming in. So from my extreme left, we have Miss Nazziwa Charlotte, who works with Women's Probono Initiative. Good afternoon, Charlotte. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, our viewers. I am glad to be on this panel and glad to have this topic aired out with our views and to catch on how best we can serve this nation.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. And this week's episode is going to be a bit different. We have one of our very interesting panelists who is going to bring a very insightful angle to this conversation. Miss Mutoni Doreen. Now, Doreen is going to be engaging with us in Uganda, and Charlotte is very graciously going to translate for our broader audience to understand the dynamics of this conversation. Miss Mutoni Doreen, who works with AWAC, welcome.
Thank you so much. My name is Mutoni Doreen. I work with Alliance of Women Advocating for Change. It's a radio organization.
Thank you so much, Doreen. And then next to her, we have Miss Nassazi Winnie Priscilla, who also works with AWAC as a programs officer. Welcome, Winnie.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, viewers. My name is Nassazi Winnie Priscilla. I work with Alliance of Women Advocating for Change. We operate in 57 districts, and I'm pleased to be here to discuss on this contentious issue.
Thank you so much, Winnie. And then right next to me, we have Miss Martha Nakato, who works with QWLU. She is a community psychologist and a public health expert. Welcome to the show, Martha. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you all. My name is Martha Nakato. I'm a community psychologist and a public health specialist, but I do psychology at QWLU, and I also work as an SRHR program lead, and I'm glad to really be here and bring such a perspective in this place.
Thank you so much. I'm very honored to have this illustrious panel with us. So to start us off this afternoon, I'm just going to bring Doreen into the conversation. So Doreen, I would just like you to help us to understand what sex work looks like in Uganda. Your experiences interacting with the sex workers, what is likely to have driven people to this particular industry? How are they surviving? And you just contextualize, help us to understand what sex work looks like in Uganda and the perspective of the sex workers themselves, and yes, what has driven them to this particular industry.
Agambye tusigira ekifaananyi ekyabanneeko mu community zaffe leero na kiki ekyabasikiriza okuyingira omulimu guno ng'ogw'abanneeko, buzibu ki bwe bafunyeemu, otuwa ekifaananyi embeera eri etya?
Amanya Mutoni Doreen from Alliance of Women Advocating for Change. Ndi Neko ndi maama ow'abaana 2 era omulimu guno siyinza kusooka gwogerako na bizibu. Kansooke nsiga ekifaananyi ky'omuntu mu community gwe bayita Neeko. Neeko mu community atwalibwa ng'ekintu ekyokusosolebwa, naye bwe tudda mu mbeera ez'obuntu, Neeko muntu ng'omuntu omulala. Neeko bwe tuba tutudde wano naawe tosobola kwawula nti nze ndi Neeko oba oli Neeko. Kisinzira omuntu bw'oba weeyisizza ku mulimu gwo gw'oba okola ki. Nze nsobola okugamba nti Neeko talina njawulo na muntu mulala.
Amanya ge Doreen.
In English.
Yeah, in English. Her name, she's called Doreen. She's a mother. She's a sex worker. And she states that she cannot she's not against the work that she does. She's so proud of it. And she says that it is a job like any other, because as you seated here, you cannot tell if she's a Neeko. She's just like any other person in the community, and this has supported her in several ways that she's going to detail for us.
Nti Neeko simanyi lwaki ekintu Neeko kiwawaza nnyo, oba sex worker simanyi lwaki kiwawaza nnyo abantu mu matu ne batuuka n'otuteekako ebintu bye tusobola okuba nga si bye tukola. Nze olwaliro bwe mba nga ndi mukyala aweerera abaana bange, nga ndi mukyala agula sukaali ku dduuka, nga ndi mukyala atwala ssente mu banka ne basala charges za banka ku ssente zange ez'obwa Neeko, nga n'oli minisita w'education naye bw'atwala ssente mu banka naye bazisalanga ezange tebazaawula nti zino ssente za Neeko tetuzisala oba zino ssente za Neeko tetuzigatta na zino. Kati siraba lwaki baba bantwalanga ekyenyinyalwa oba nga akoze ekintu ekivve nze okuba ne bizinensi yange gye nasalawo okukola. Kuba omuntu atula ku makya n'agamba ngenda kusiika chips, omulala n'agamba ngenda kubeera mutembeeyi, omulala n'agamba ngenda kubeera musomesa, omulala n'agamba ngenda kuba musawo muganda. Witchcraft. Kyesinzira omuntu oba osazeewo okukola ki? Okukola.
She's stating that she does not understand the reason why sex workers are discriminated in the society today, because the same job she's doing, she pays taxes, she is able to pay school fees for her children, she's able to feed her family, and this is the same money that she uses to pay tax like any other employee in our country today. She's not different from any other employment statuses with others, like say the bankers. She does the banking. She's deducted of all the taxes in the banks. She's just like any other person who will wake up in the morning to go to office and work, to go to open up their shop, to do the witchcraft work. Anybody that pays taxes and is able to create income for themselves and do the basic needs of their life. And she does not understand the reason why they are discriminated and stigmatized in the society today.
Nze lwaki ngamba nnyo nti ne gavumenti yennyini etusosola. Tuyina minisita w'ekikula ky'abantu n'abakozi. Tafunangayo obudde kwengejinga bitongole by'aba sex workers kusharingako nabo kumanya challenges zaabwe lwaki basalawo okugenda ku kkubo okutunda emibiri gyabwe.
She says she does not understand the reason why the Minister of Gender and Labor does not go on ground to engage the sex workers and the organizations that support them to understand from their lived experiences and challenges and the prospects of why they were introduced to this kind of work. She's calling upon such people in the places of influence to go deep down on the ground to understand why this is happening and why these people are introduced or they are doing this nature of work.
Nalabako coincidence katini abalema bali ba complaining disability persons nti ku parliament tebabaterawe babayita obugali bwabwe babuyisa abalema abo ne babateerako ki we bayisa obugali bwabwe. Naye gwe oba obeereyo nga otyobola omukyala sex worker nga tosobola nakuba nti omuteeka mu parliament araisinge issues ze osobola okutula mu parliament n'ofulumya etteeka nti etteeka lino ligenda kukwata Neeko olw'okuba nga atunda omubiri gwe naye nga tomanyi na lwaki nasalawo okukola bizinensi eyo. Nze nno ne ndowooza batutuulira olw'okuba tetulina na mukiise mu parliament. Nze nno bino mbigamba abatuwuliriza ffe nga aba sex worker oba key populations twetaaga naffe omuntu atukiikirira mu parliament gwe tusobola okutuusizaako ensonga zaffe.
She's airing out an issue where the people living with disabilities were represented before the parliament, that they did not have access to the parliament using the staircases. When they raised this issue before the parliament, they were able to create a way to create the ramp for easy accessibility of the people with disabilities to access the parliament. And she says if those people's issues were if those people's issues were able to be mitigated, how about the sex workers? She says that their voices are being trampled on because they do not have even a representative in parliament. If there could be a way that they could get a representative in the parliament, maybe that person would air out their issues for the rest of the people to understand where they are coming from, why were they had to enter this kind of job as sex workers to do what they do, to understand at least their voices to be elevated and aired out from the lived experience, not just to be discriminated and stigmatized because of what they hear around the sex work.
Gwe bw'otula mu parliament n'ofulumya etteeka erigamba ti bwe nsanga sex worker bwe nsanga omukyala nga yeetunda sex worker nga yeetunda, nensanga sex worker nga alina maama we gw'alabirira ku ssente ezo, nensanga sex worker nga alina omwana we gw'awerera ku ssente ezo, nensanga sex worker nga alina client gw'ali naye, bonna tugenda kubakwata tubasibe. Ekitegeeza nti ffe mu nsi tetuyinaamu mugaso, tetulina kye tugatta ku gunsi kuno ku gavumenti eyaffe kwe tuli, naye nga teri musolo minisita gw'asasula gwe sisasula, teri musolo musomesa wa gavumenti gw'asasula nze sex worker gwe sisasula. Lwaki ffe batusosola? Lwaki batufudde nnyo ekyenyinyalwa? Lwaki bagadde nnyo tusimulizaako enfuufu? Njagala ogyeyo peyini yange nga oyogera.
She's stating that why is there discrimination and stigmatization of sex workers to a point that the law, the Anti-Homosexuality Bill Act, criminalizes the person who is doing the sex work, the person who is aiding sex work, the person who is benefiting from the sex work, and the person operating the brothels. And this goes ahead to say that now if it's to criminalize the person who is benefiting, meaning the mother, the children, the people that are being supported, they are all in the same bracket, and they are under the to be criminalized according to the law. So she says, why would they be discriminated to such a point if at all they are able to even pay the taxes like any other person is able to pay, if they're able to put down food and basic needs for themselves as a citizen, meaning that they do not even have any value addition to our nation. They are just seen as something that they're just discriminated and seen and being inhuman in the way they are treated in the nation. Yet they are value addition in the way they pay taxes like any other person. They are able to fend for families. They're able to support their children for school fees. They're able to even contribute on the taxes that run this nation.
Okay, I actually have a question for Doreen. Doreen, how did you start sex work? What prompted you to join sex work, the industry?
Kiki ekyakuwaliriza oyingire omulimu guno?
Ekyampaliriza nazaala firstborn wange nga ndi mwana muto, saafuna mukisa kusoma, nengezaako okukola mu maka g'abantu nga housemaid nga tebansasula, ne ntandika okukola mu bbaala. Mu bbaala mwe nakolanga nga nfunamu abasajja. Olw'ensonga omusajja nakutwala nakuwaayo 2 nakutwala nakuwaayo omutwalo nakutwala nakuwaayo 3 kumba olwo ntandika ki ate omuntu bw'oba tewasoma mirimu mingi nnyo gy'oyinza okuba nti okola naye obalawo ogugenda okukwanguyira omwana okufuna emmere y'enkya. Nze kizibu okugenda ku street nembula nnusu 15,000 nenziruka nenzitwalira omwana ng'asooka akole ki afune ekyokulya naye bwe ŋŋenda mu like nga nkolera mwezi kijja kuntwalira omwezi mulamba nga sifunye ki sente. Kati nze kyekyo kye nasalawo ninga kangende nkola oba neeko kubanga buli mukazi neeko naye obulimu gw'obwa neeko ogukoze otya. Ojja kusanga abakyala bali mu palamenti nga banneeko naye lwakuba etayimiridde ku street gamba nti mpaayo 5,000 oba mpaayo 3 nti ye ayina engeri gy'ayisaawo enneetunda ye etali nga yange nti nze ndi mukalu kugamba shoti 2,000 longo 3,000 nti awo wetwawukanira naye nga ffenna omulimu guli ki.
She goes ahead to address the reason why she started this work. As a young girl, she gave birth at an early age. She had a child at an early age, and she started taking care of this child in a way that she went and found housework jobs that were not equally paying her to be able to support the child. So she went ahead to find a job in a bar where she was serving as a bartender, and she was able, in there as she was working, she was able to get to connect with her clients in there who introduced her to sex work. In a way, in a night, she could at least get clients 2 or 3, and she's able to get about 20,000 to 50,000 a night, which now made it simple for her to take care of the child. And she said it was a quicker way of her getting money than going to get employment elsewhere, where it could take her a month to get this payment. So it was easier for her to go for that job than to search around for other jobs that would take a longer term. And she asserts that in this society, everyone is a sex worker in a way. Not everyone goes on the road to ask for this, to do this job. Others are doing it privately. Others are doing it using their networks around. Some even ask money indirectly, but it's in a way it's taken back to be sex work.
Ate n'ekirala guno mulimu nze gwe natula n'ensalawo saatunulira mirimu mirala nti ngende ntambuze ebbogo ya nze gwe nasalawo okukola bwe natunulamu nalaba nga gwe nnina okukola kuba ye capital yange.
She says sex work, for her it is work, because she made a decision that this is the work I want to do. I am the capital, and I'm not going to go out to sell bananas like any other person. I prefer and I'm proud of doing this work.
Lwaki batunulira nnyo omulimu gwange ng'omubi? Olero tulina abantu abafuyira mu nnyumba, abafuyira emmese, abafuyira ebiku, abafuyira bo omulimu gwabwe gufuna nnyo okusinga ogwange gwe batunulira nti mubi. Omulimu gwange nze si mubi, nze ngwenyumirizaamu, sigulinaako buzibu.
Address that. Okay then. Thank you so much, Doreen. Winnie, I would like to bring you into the conversation in regards to the work that AWAC is trying to do to help sex workers gain accessibility to certain things. I want to ask about the stakeholders involved and their reception of the work that you're trying to do. For instance, for government, have you been able to get audience with government? Have they been receptive to the type of changes you're trying to make? And then other NGOs, and then religious leaders, cultural leaders, have the stakeholders been receptive of the work that you're trying to do, or have you been cast aside?
Okay, thank you so much. When it comes to stakeholder involvement, we usually hold social cohesion dialogues, and usually during those dialogues is where we call on different stakeholders. These include cultural leaders, it includes religious leaders, the police, the LCs, and other legal organization, for example, Europe, that supports us in case we have any legal issues. Yes, Some have been supportive, like for example, HIRAF, it supports us on in case we have issues to do with legal issues. They have supported us in training paralegals. These paralegals are found in each hotspot. In the event that a sex worker has issues, maybe there are issues to do with GBV, or maybe a police has come and maybe does not know what is happening. For example, they have made changes, and this police officer is trying to like hold them accountable, like, why are you doing sex work? This paralegal do report, and we follow through. They have been trained by HIRAF. Still to add, we have some NGOs providing also different health services that are in need. For example, we have SEHAD, supports us when it comes to like abortion care, something like that. Then we also bring on board health facilities. These are, of course, headed by the government. These people really provide services to our FSWs. We have key population focal person at each government health facility, that in the event the FSW wants to go and seek any service, they are able to really get the service. Also, the government has been in support, like to see that we have a drop-in center, and of course together with CDC and PEPFAR through the different implementing IPs. They have helped us establish drop-in centers, where in the event that the KP is not really comfortable seeking services at the facility, they are able to come to these drop-in centers to seek the different services. However, a call to government is to see that they support us to see that really these DICs are fully, they are able to operate all the services, because some of them have not been, they are not, okay, there are some services that they cannot provide, but we are calling upon government to see that really these drop-in centers, they can really be able to provide all the services to the KP, so that they do not have to really, some of them do not have a limit to receive different services. Maybe the cultural leaders, really, we've not really gotten support from the cultural leaders. We still face issues with the cultural leaders, and it is a call to them to see that really they embrace these people. We are able to freely engage in the communities. Like they are actually people like us, and it is okay to not really discriminate them. Yes.
And the religious leaders?
The religious leaders, of course we engage them. It is not so much like the cultural leaders. The religious leaders on board, for example, we have even some NGOs that are under the religious, we have, for example, UPMB and UCMB. Those are organizations that are really providing services to KPs, but they're under the religious affiliation.
Okay, that's very interesting. I need to understand. Why is it that you've had more reception amongst the religious leaders as opposed to the cultural leaders? What is the mentality gap there? Because it's more of a moral question, so I want to understand.
Probably, I think it's because they have not really come on board on our side. They have not really been so much as we try to engage them, but it's like they're pushing it a bit given to the cultural customs and norms of different tribes within the country. Yeah, it's really preventing them to really engage in so much.
Okay, so how did you start engaging the religious leaders to start with? Obviously, it's been dialogues, but you know, it takes there's a certain mindset shift that we're trying to reach. So how exactly, if I were to interact with my religious leader, or someone in their communities to interact with their religious leader, how do you start that conversation that would maybe at some point in the future lead to a mindset shift? Maybe not immediately, but just how do you start that engagement?
One, it could be, for example, like the religious leaders. We have, like, for example, the organizations I've talked about, they provide services to the general population, and this makes it easy, like, to penetrate them. Like, you're able to talk to them that you have this population, there are also people like us, unlike the culture leaders or people in the cultural setting, because we see we really don't have, apart from the Buganda that has Nabagereka, that is Sakate, the Nabagereka Foundation. When you look at other maybe tribes or something like that, we really don't have organizations that are really coming on board to support different. It could be one way of penetrating them, like how we did the religious leaders. Then also having a representative from the different kingdoms being involved when we call them on board, like to come and when we are discussing different issues affecting our population. Yes, it is really missing. It is a gap that is missing.
Okay, thank you so much, Winnie. I'm very grateful. Charlotte, I'll just bring you into this conversation right now. In regards to the legal aspect of it all, I just want to understand first of all, what is the law on sex work in Uganda? And then just a few it's a whole thing. What is the law on sex work in Uganda? And then how easy is it for a sex worker to access legal services if their status as a sex worker is known? If I walk into a police station and I decide that I've been maybe harassed by my client, are our police officers trained with a sensitivity training to take this on? And then that's the second question in regards to it. And then the third would be how is our next step in regards to maybe if we're looking to decriminalize sex work in Uganda? Are we getting there, or maybe at the very least recognizing their labor rights? Are we getting there, or are we still in the pipeline?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Once again, I'm Charlotte Nazziwa. I work with the Women's Probono Initiative. About the legal picture of sex work in our country, it is well known that sex work is illegal as per the penal code. It is criminalized under the penal code for the person doing the sex work, that is prostitution according to the law, the person aiding the sex work, the person any entity operating the brothels, and even the beneficiary of the earnings from the sex work. It is criminalized. To add on to that, in a way, it has been an infringe on human rights for the sex workers. Anybody, we are all bound to enjoy our rights as people, as women, and also as a way of economic status influence. We are supposed to be supported, and these two sex workers come out to say, this is my job, and that is employment right. You have the right to work. You understand? So this is the law is not supporting, and that it is instead criminalizing sex work, but as a way of supporting, as a way of protecting, we come about as protecting the rights of the women doing the sex work. In a way, you have a right to privacy. We have seen how sex workers are being arrested on the roadsides. They are being harassed. They are handled in a way that does not dignify their status as women. They are being bundled on cars and dressed. They have a right to their privacy. They have a right to be handled in a manner that that supports their dignity as women. So in a way, we come about to protect them, that supporting their rights as women, much as they're being infringed in a way that it is sex work, but no, it is just their rights as women oh, let me put it this way. The rights that are being abused for the sex worker in the nation currently, I may state that as right to employment, because if they come out to say that this is the way I make my money, this is how I accumulate my income, I am able to pay taxes, I am able to do my basic needs, I am able to fend for my family and support, and then in a way you're saying this is not allowed in our country, but they're doing other ways that any other person is paying taxes or is supporting in our country. So we come about to support that, no, this is not right. They have their rights to economic status and employment, the right to privacy. We have seen that we have seen how journalists take photos of say there is an arrest on the streets. The journalists come about and take pictures, and these pictures are not regulated of how they are going to be put in the newspapers. They just put them there without consent or anything. These people are, they have a right to their privacy. Why would they be doing that to them? It is happening in our country today. There is right to owning property. The times they are arrested off the streets or any other places that you know they are known that this is a sex work camp, they come and arrest in a bunch, and as they are being arrested, they take all your properties. Say you have phones, you have money. By the time you reach that police station, you have nothing. And when you get there, you ask, why am I being arrested? Most of the times, the cases being cramped on the sex workers are completely, they don't make sense. You ask, why am I here? They're telling you you're idle and disorderly, vagabond, those kind of cases that don't even make sense at all. And then in a way, you reach the police stations and they are saying, you give us money, you get out, because there is no case against you. You understand? And now their properties are also confiscated, meaning they cannot accumulate their economic status or properties, because every time they are taken off their properties. If you have like a land, sometimes you go to those police stations and they tell you, if you don't give us such an amount, we are not releasing you. Now, in your job, in your way of operating and your income status, sometimes you can't afford this money. All the money you get is mouth to hand. It is hand to mouth. You're able to just get food for your family, school fees for your child, etc. You end up, maybe if you had like a property somewhere, you're selling off and you're going back to zero. So there is right to employment for sex workers, and it is not realized in our country today. So there's other more that I will not detail, but I was trying to paint a picture of how the legal framework looks like around in our nation today. And we have seen also laws that have been passed. Say the Anti-Pornographic Act, the you cut that out. Anti-Pornographic Act of 2014, which it limits, or it has a way, it states how women are supposed to dress. Now, if a sex worker, this is your job, you're supposed to be attractive in a way of how you're going to get your clients. And now the Anti-Pornographic Act is here to say you're supposed to dress in a certain way, meaning they're infringing on your income status. They're infringing on how you're going to get your money and clients. How am I supposed to dress up and attract my clients? So this is also a cramped up a law that does not really support this kind of work and the people that are doing it. We have seen the HIV Control and Prevention Act, still is 2014, if I'm sure. It also states that it criminalizes people who are willingly transmit HIV. So in a way, it is known that sex workers are key populations. They are at a high risk of having HIV. That is what society knows. And so they assume that sex workers, or they have HIV, and as they do this work, they are willingly transmitting HIV, which is not right. These are people who are trained. They actually know their rights and even able to know where to acquire the services. It is so hard to find a sex worker who does not have the equipment. Say they don't have lube, they don't have condoms, they know where to go and get PEP. All these services are available to them. But in the society and according to the law, they assume that they willingly transmit HIV, which is not right. Another act is she mentioned about the AHA, that criminalizes even the last person, the last person who receives money, a last beneficiary. It does not make sense. She even stated that she does pay taxes of this money. This money she gets, she even banks it. She puts it in the bank, just like any other formal job owner who she pays pay of it. Some are actually, this is a formal business where they contact people who they're in big spaces, they have money, they pay in checks, and this check is taken to the bank. Those are whole taxes they are paying the bank whatever charges. They pay NSSF. So how different is it from the people who have formal jobs, who are able to be out in public or in parliament to do every other, they are able to stand and speak, oh, I'm so and so, my job is clean and etc. It is non-different. It is non-different. So what am I trying to say? It is, if at all we can openly be honest about this kind of work that is being done, how neat is it? How can we support them as human? How can we support their human rights? How can we bring about a leverage or equality amongst us ourselves than discriminating and stigmatizing them, yet they are also of a value addition to our nation today. Another question is about how accessibility to the police stations. As Women's Probono Initiative, we provide legal services to indigent women who cannot afford legal services. We do these legal services free of charge. And we have had so many clients come to us who have experienced gender-based violence. Meanwhile, this is happening. These sex workers do have partners. It's not like, it is like a job where I'm going to work, but I'm going back home to my partner. So they also experience gender-based violence. They experience, some are being they're exploited as they are doing this work. Someone because it's consensual sex, you have an agreement, or we are going to do this a long or a short, you're supposed to give me certain amount of money. At the end of the day, after the service, someone is just saying or giving you less or even beating you up. Why would you do such a thing? We have gotten such cases to litigate against violence against the women that are sex workers. We have also gotten cases of properties that are being taken away from the sex workers. More so, say, land. Sex workers have money that they can even afford land. They have their properties. They have things. And someone just comes because you're doing a certain job, they want to take away your property. You have a right to property acquisition as a human. So these are channels how we come out to support sex workers. And I also call upon to applaud other organizations that have also supported, like HIRF. They refer cases. We get so many cases from our connections, and our work also has been on board to support. But to add on to that, how the police has done this, to be honest, more of the cases that are reported at police, by the time you get there, literally they do not have a case against a sex worker. Because what are they going to say? What have you done according to the law? They'll just cramp on you, things, enter here, if you don't have money or bribe, like they just want to do their job, maybe for visibility or something, and there is no successful prosecution after that. All they want is maybe they want to make your life hard. Probably they assume if you do that, that my mind or something is going to get away from my job. That is a job. It can't. So by the time you get, actually we've even litigated cases where police officers are asking for sex in return of releasing sex workers. We've gotten that such scenarios. So my experience of getting justice in a way is we come about to support the rights of the sex workers. And if you've been arrested, why are you arrested? Hey, my properties have taken. They have rights to property. That is how we come to defend. This person is here because of ABC Dundee. What is your case against them? We try to mitigate. And we've also seen an organization coming about to train the police officers at centers to how to handle these matters. How are they supposed to mitigate in case issues are like these are happening at the police station? How are they working together with the sex workers to get to understand what challenges are they facing? Why are they do? How can we support them? How do the laws try to protect them in a way? So I think I've spoken a lot. I'll chip in again if at all I have something to add.
Okay, thank you so much, Charlotte. That was very, very, very insightful. Martha, I will bring you into the conversation right now. I want you to speak to us about the access to medical services by the health workers. I want you to speak to us. Let's say, very interestingly, Daily Monitor, New Vision released an article regarding the HIV status of sex workers in Uganda. They put it at 54%. That is alarming. That is an alarming rate. So as a sex worker, if I go to a hospital and I say I need to access PrEP, I need to access PEP, are the health workers equipped with the sensitivity training to address you? Are they receptive of you? Is there ease of accessibility? If, say, you have been sexually assaulted as a sex worker, how have you had experiences where sex workers have been turned away from hospitals? And then how do we address that? And then the second was, I'll bring you in for another question, but just help us to understand that angle of why the 54% as well.
Okay. So thank you so much. Oh, this is such an insightful conversation. I wouldn't stand, first of all, I wouldn't stand to defend the 54% because I would need to first get myself acquainted with how they actually did this research, what they based on, the actors, the stakeholders that were actually talked to when it comes to this report. So I don't want to defend the 54% yet, right? Because we need to have the data. We need to get into how they actually did this research so that I, be able to talk about the 54%, because we need the realities of the people to actually speak for themselves, and we need to ensure that we read the report first and see what angle did they come from, where did they go, what did the people say when it comes to this. So I wouldn't defend it, but then I wouldn't refuse it because, again, I don't have the knowledge on this right now. Then when it comes to the access to the medical services, I think what has really been done is a real decentralization to find that least person when it comes to access to services. And mainly I'll talk about HIV. It has become like really comprehensive that when it comes to HIV, they do not ask about one thing. They do not just test you, but they go ahead to go on and ask have you been sexually harassed? That form has all those, questions that nudge people to, dig deeper into their lives. Are you experiencing any sexual violence? Are you living with an STI? Are you, so such, nudging questions that, come up with. So I think we're not yet really doing so well, but at least we are somewhere because they are peers. So these are not like really trained people like in medics and all that, but it's just someone that can reach out to the next person, in a localized community to ensure that they have this PrEP, they have, condoms, they have lubricants, instead of like going to hospital, because the medical model of, doing work has been so intensified that for example, even when it comes to the AHA, when it passed, there are very many health workers that were also, scared. They would want to provide the service, but they are scared because this law really comes for them because of the duty to report that was, also removed by the court. So, yeah, the focal persons are also helping. Yeah, the focal persons in these hospitals are really helping. So you see how the whole, decentralization is working. So the peer comes to the focal person and they're able to access this service from the hospital. So the peer goes back to, the sex worker, let's say, and, is able to give them this, work, but then they also link them to this care at the hospital by giving them to the right person or the focal person to, get this service. So yeah, when it comes to this violence, okay, let me first go back to the medical workers being well equipped. Yeah, this focal person has really helped with this access, right? Yeah, I know there's a lot of stigmatization because we currently did a whole study because they are still human, right? Yeah, and every human has their own dynamics, right? We grew up differently and all that. So yeah, mostly the verbal stigmatization is what is on a rise. They'll still provide this service, but also still, even when this focal person is there are these people that will see everyone or particular people coming to this focal person and straight away affiliate you. But still, you have been able to get the service in a hard way somehow, because it still affects your mental health when, people are affiliating you and abusing you and, are saying, hey, abantu bobabo. That's the statement they usually use when this focal person is coming to, when these people are coming to this focal person to get the medical services. But at least this person has been able to get the help that they need. So these peers have really helped to decentralize that this person has to go to a hospital to get tested, to get the medication, all the trauma they have to go through, and instead get services. They even give these services to border people to deliver. So it has really become a bit easier when it comes to health and that. So also I talked about the violence. Yeah, they talk about that. But also tackling sexual violence has actually been a bit very difficult when it comes to health because still of the embarrassment, that comes with, talking about or revealing that you are actually sexually harassed and whether you'll be believed and all that. So most of the times people, go away from that and just say, test me and, let's see what comes out, rather than them talking about whether they were sexually harassed or not. But yet the question is there when it comes to, the HIV tool. The question is there, have you been sexually harassed? And, even when someone could be, it's at a high percentage that they could say, I am not been. Or they even delay to go to the hospitals when they are. So it becomes very difficult. Yeah.
Okay, then. Thank you so much, Martha. This has been absolutely brilliant. I like how you went really in depth with your exchange. So I would like to bring Doreen back into the conversation. So Doreen, I just wanted to know, as an industry, are there like support structures you have to support each other, to identify maybe, is there someone you as an individual, if I have just joined the field, is there someone I would know to go to in my community? How would I reach them? And are those support structures safe for people? Yeah, I also, that's how I would want to first understand.
Agambye nti waliwo engeri ey'okuyambagana mu mulimu guno bwe tugambe ng'oli mupya mulimu nti abakulu ono bw'oba oli mpya ono yajja okuyamba introducing mu kino muyambagana mutya kale waliwo engeri gye amateeka oba engeri gye mukola ki amateeka agaba gavaninga mwegali mulina abakulu ababayamba oba mufuna mutya support.
Neyanziza ekisooka guno mulimu ng'emirimu emirala nga bw'omanyi nti kankutandikire n'omuntu omupya ngazze tetulicruitinga omuntu ava eri n'ebizibu bye engeri gye tubawo ne ba peer readers n'aregisteringa n'aleeta photocopy yena nga muntu aba agiina n'atuwa next of kin we gy'avudde in case singa waba wabaddewo obuzibu wawe tuyinza okutandikira kati bwe tumala okutambula naye mu process eyo tulina kye tuyita kileg savings tulina groups ze twakola ezisaving akasente aka buli lunaku oba buli wiiki akasente ako katuyamba kati olwaleero am 40 years kitegeeza ndi mu kugenda nkola ki singa mba seetegekeddeewo ka daily income business mbanja kutuuka nkole ki nnemererwe nti tuba encouraginga nnyo okuba nti baba ne savings nti leero osobola okuba nga oli mu period ng'ozimalamu ennaku nnya kitegeeza togenda ku street ng'oli mu periods naye bw'oba olina ekyalaani wali oba ng'olinawo saloon osobola okunaaza omuntu mu mutwe oba n'osamba ekyalaani n'ofunayo sente abaana bose bakola ki tugezezzaako nnyo bakolamu omulimu okuba ne saving buli lw'obeera nga olaba kasente n'obulamu bwobaawo ne bw'oba nga okedde ku makya ne bakeera ng'olina akawuka ka mukenenya tekakuyisa binga omuntu atalina ssente tekakuyisa binga omuntu atalina mulimu kuba leero nsobola okuba nga nva wano tambula ku bodaboda nefuna accident naye process eyo gye mmaze mu ddwaliro ngenda kugiyitamu nti anga si savinze olwo tuddayo eri ne twekolamu groups oba nkijjeeyo
yeah, over here. Because what was the question in Uganda? She has asked about the support structures in this kind of work. She states that they do not recruit anybody in this work, but people, the people reach out, those that are going through situations and maybe financial difficulties, they come by themselves and they are registered in this movement, in this hotspot groups. She says that when you're registered, you're supposed to come with your national ID, you're supposed to mention your next of kin, and then you're introduced, because those are requirements just in case of anything happens to you. How do they reach out to the person or your family? And this is a criteria. Also, they encourage each other to save. They have self-help groups where they save money to support them economically. And she stated an example that if you're, say, you're in your men's periods, you're unable to go to streets or you're unable to get clients. Now, if you're saving, this money is able to, you save this money to find another side business that can support you in such scenarios. Could be you're sick, not even menses, but you're sick, you're unable to be on streets. When you have this side business, is able to support you. And now she also mentioned that when you're aging, like say she says she's 40 years, in the coming next years, she will be unable to be on the streets. But this saving money, the saving groups that they have, the money that is accumulated and got out, you're able to get businesses that can run you after even this job, it is done, or maybe you have retired out of it. So they encourage each other to save on a daily basis in those groups. So by the time you're in it or you're in need, this money is able to support you. You're encouraged even to start up a business. Say you start a small modala, a small stall, maybe you're also doing a salon, you own a salon, you're encouraged to do those small business that can support you financially in case the job is done or you have retired from it. That's how they support each other.
Yes, we have the CHILEG model that she has talked about. CHILEG is community health, livelihood, economic empowerment groups. Yeah, it looks at bringing them together, they agree and support and save little. It can be as little as 5,000, 2,000, depending on how much someone is able to earn, that can save them at a certain time, like she has talked about. Then we have also the adherence support groups. These look at KPs that are in care, those that are taking art, or it could be prep. These groups help one another to make sure that they discuss the different challenges they face in case maybe they are taking art or what. In so coming together, they create a sense of togetherness, oneness, sharing problems, and you get a sense of belonging to know that, you know what, I'm not alone. There's someone else going through the same issues I'm going through. Or someone can also, in case maybe KP has known that maybe I've just gotten HIV, there is a person to support you. Yes. We also have some FSWs that are disabled. So that is a different group also that comes together. There are those that are deaf and dumb. So also those ones, we bring them on board. They have their own groups that really they share their own issues. They also have a CHILEG within them. Yeah, that is how we really try to, yes, we try to make sure that they are together and they are having something that brings them together. For example, those of with disability, we support them to do soap. They make soap. Some are into knitting, shoes, yes. Maybe a call to action is, much as they are saying sex work is not work, for us we believe sex work is work, and the government should find what ways can we really support the key populations to see that they're economically empowered. We've provided them with health services, yes, to some extent, like at least they're able to get services from different places, much as there's some bit of discrimination. But the issue of economic empowerment, much as you're singing sex work is bad, sex work, you're discriminating them, how have you really supported these teams? It is a call to action that we really need to empower, because they're willing to learn. They're willing to do soap, they're willing to go into tailoring. There are those that are really willing to do some other work, and we've seen some actually getting out of sex work and maybe having a salon, someone concentrating on their salon. But if you've not supported them, maybe to gain a skill, or maybe having like a startup capital, really honestly speaking, we cannot keep on saying you're criminalizing them, yet you're not supporting them anywhere. Yes, that is it.
Waliwo n'ekirala, gavumenti yaleeta ssente za PDM. Ne PDM balambula bizinensi yo. Naye neetaaga ssente za PDM. Kitegeeza mba qualifying. Naye kitegeeza olwo gavumenti eba endowoozezaako nga nze sex worker, kubanga omulimu gwange sigenda gubalambuza. Yenze mulimu. Bw'ogenda okusabayo ssente bagamba tulambuze ki?
Okay. As she's mentioned that the government models say that government models that support economic empowerment of citizens of this nation, like the PDM. She mentions that PDM, one of the requirements is you must have a business. But now, in this nature of work, an individual is the business. So there is no way is coming to, they require you of the legal, the formal registration of the business. But in this way, they are the business. and they do not qualify. So she says they are not thought about when they are bringing about such good government opportunities to empower citizens of this nation with economically empowerment. They are not recognized, they are not thought about, they are being left out as though they are not value additions in this nation. So she's calling upon the government and the policymakers, the people in influence, to at least find a way of find a way of thinking about this, find a way of how these sex workers are being introduced, are being what's the word?
Maybe can be accommodated.
Be accommodated in such government programs for economic empowerment.
Okay, thank you so much. Winnie, our time is fast spent, but I just wanted to ask you, have you had, in regards to changing mindsets, the media is going to play a very good role with, it's ought to play a very good role in that. Have you found any issues in regards to how the media reports on sex workers? Have you had any issues with, if you've approached a media house regarding, do you do trainings on, the media and its reporting around sex work, around the mindset shifts and the like? Well, what is the role of the media in all this, and how has it fallen short in regards to changing mindsets? Just very briefly, because our time is fast spent.
Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. Regarding media, I think they have negative publicity about the FSW, even how they write it, how the pictures that are taken, really, it really shows that what we are doing is not right, and it really doesn't, it increases stigma among the FSWs. We've held some media cafes, and we've had on board like I think 22 radio stations. Generally, it's not like all they come on board. It has not really been acceptable by all media houses. If only they could all come on board, because there are those media houses that really, when they write something or maybe when they present something, it calls for attention, or maybe the entire public, for example, like how you see NTV, when you see Bouquet Day, all that. If such media houses come when we are having different dialogues, it will help us bring out our voices closer to the different stakeholders within Uganda. So me, I would say everyone should be on board. All media houses should be on board, not specifically a few. Okay. Yes, because we usually work with Spark TV. It has really come on board. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Winnie. Martha, I'll bring you in as we come to the close of our discussion. In regards to the mental health, particularly, you're a community psychologist of the people in this industry. First of all, are people able to recognize that they have, a mental health issue associated with the work? What are the support structures in place to get them the help that they need? And is it usually acceptable? Is it something that has been well received, them getting accessibility? Yes, and then anything else you would have to say in regards to the mental health, very briefly, as our time lapses.
Okay, thank you so much. What I would begin with is that mental health does not discriminate anyone. Mm-hmm. Like, it can affect and get anyone in this world. Mm-hmm. So whether the people are recognizing it is really a question of mindset change, because mental health has actually not been like a thing that has, so much been
mainstream.
Even like mainstream. You can even see the whole country has not come up with like a mental health, let's say, law or act or something to ensure that they protect, people that are in this state. Yeah, so you can't see that it's not, if it has not come from above yet, then it's really so honest that even at the bottom, it has not yet come out. Though we're also not sitting, we are trying to ensure that we train different mental health, let's say first aiders, they're called psychosocial first aiders, to ensure that, they at least decolonize, decentralize the mental health thing, so that if at all I have someone, they are not a psychologist, let's say Winnie here, who comes and tells me, no, if you have a challenge, this is what you should do first, then let me be able to like link you to care to this person. At least that is one thing that is helping, and it's not really coming from, let's say, governmental bodies and all that. No, it's coming from CSOs. That's where the help is as of now, because you will find that very few people are accepting to go to Botabika to actually see a psychologist. There are very few people that are accepting to go to any, place to actually see a psychologist. But if we begin from, friends of friends, to just be able to begin these conversations, because still mental health is also one of the hardest things to deal with, because much as we're here all together and we talk about our strategies, my strategy will be different from yours, or it might, or even what you think is your strategy right now might not even be able to work in another situation. So it's really, something that we just need to begin slowly lighting up those conversations between our spaces, and beginning from that first aider perspective and training these first aiders and saying, okay, you do not have a whole qualification to get this, psychosocial or psychological course. Let's begin with teaching you the basics of how you can help someone like in an immediate crisis. And if I begin with just one person and they help like 5 and link them to care, because the whole aim of like the first aiding thing is to link someone to the actual care, take them to a psychologist, then let them get assessed, then they can see how to, probably if they need to, get to a psychiatrist. Then the support structures are mainly, like I said, within CSOs, because like my CSO has me as a psychologist, and I would think that every organization, including hospitals, including governmental hospitals, everywhere, we need these people in these spaces to help support, because you never know where a challenge might come from, and they come from our day-to-day things, small things like you refusing to do this, but I have this expectation within me, oh my God. So it's really that big. So when it comes to like the sex work movement, support really comes from within our organizations and within these groups that we are affiliated to, because and the trainings they be able to engage other people in. Then is it acceptable? Really, we will still have a long way to go, because for some people, there's a training I was in and someone was like, oh my God, I did not feel help. The person just told me stretch, sleep, this. So they really did not find that. I don't want to like put blame on like anyone, but like that actually shows you that the reason they did not tell them the reason as to why they have to do this, or probably they did not let this client choose what their self-care is or what their wellness looks like. So we still have a long way for people to accept and actually come to see experts, and
Okay.
that's what
Thank you so much.
I want to add on mental health. Very briefly, yes. From my observation is I've seen it is usually given to people who are living with HIV. They try their level best to like assess them. Could we really shift to the entire population, like making sure that everyone is really assessed, including the KPs for mental health, because we really have so many issues going on. Yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted to also go back to that a little bit. That's where actually the problem comes in. For HIV, there's actually a need, because this is a person that is going to be like on drugs all the time. But if I don't feel like I need the service, why are you assessing me? Do you see where the whole challenge comes from with mental health? Yeah, so you cannot actually be able to even impose it like on anyone, because there's actually a need for consent. And if I'm told I do not feel I need this help, I cannot assent to what you're trying to make me do.
Okay then. Yeah. Thank you so much. Charlotte, I will bring you into the conversation, and I will ask you, as you're submitting on this, to also give your closing remarks for the conversation. In regards to what I initially asked about, in regards to the decriminalization of sex work in Uganda, making it possible that I think even for us to be able to access the PDM, it would require decriminalization first of all. All of these things would first require us to go through the decriminalization structure. So where are we at in that regard? Have the necessary stakeholders been receptive of you? The government, what is the government stance like in your last engagements with them? What are they like in regards to the decriminalization of this?
I may say we were not tiring to advocating for these rights. As CSOs, as advocates, it is a journey that we are moving. It has been there before us. We are here to do it, and in the future to come, it is still the same journey, and we are not going to tire or give up on it. Just as recently last week, is it, when the Honorable Adeke tabled the sexual offences bill. When you go through it, it's in a way still decriminalizing. As we make a foot in front, there is a setback of 5 in these laws. So as per now, we are at this level. We are protecting the rights of human in a way. It is not about there is not yet any law that is legalizing it or protecting sex work, but it's protecting under the human rights, as in protecting the rights of human. So far, that's where we are at, apparently. But in doing so, it is my humble appeal and call to the Uganda law reform, as there should be a review of this penal code, more so in the certain caps like 100 and 136. There should be a review in this criminalization of sex work, as you do the work wherever you are in the places of influence. As the Uganda law reform, it is a humble appeal. Kindly find a way of reviewing these laws and how they are infringing on the rights of sex workers in Uganda. I also humbly call upon the police officers at their desks and places of operation, if they could be taken through trainings of how to handle cases of sex work at the level of police, it would be a good venture into the right path, because most times we have seen cases of policemen and women in uniform instead violating the rights of sex workers as they are being arrested or taken to the police stations. If they could in a way be trained on a way of handling these cases and knowing deeply of the human rights, it could be a step in the right direction, and also protecting the rights of the sex workers in this state. Also, it's my call and appeal to people, sex workers who are getting issues, to kindly reach out to the stakeholders or organization in support of legal services or health services or any services that may be needed in such a way that you're protected and you're able to enjoy your rights as a human being. There are so many out there. You could reach out to hear of. Most of the people seated here representing those organizations, me inclusive. Kindly, if you're in need of any services in a way, reach out so we can all as human beings enjoy our rights in this country. Thank you.
Okay then, thank you so much. Those are your closing remarks as well. Very grateful, Charlotte. So we'll be moving on to Martha for your closing remarks, and we shall go on to Winnie, and then finally we shall have Doreen.
Okay. So,
sorry, kindly keep them brief.
Yeah. Okay, so my closing remarks will be on first of all, the health bit, the sexual reproductive health. If we are to deal with HIV and, let's say give a figure and put it out there in the public, let's ensure that we have the lived realities of people, because those make actually more perfect sense, because these are the people living there, you know, the real life. And if we are to just give, you know, figures out there, we're going to end up making the wrong programming, because we're not solving the actual problem. We are just making it big, yet it actually probably does not exist. So it's really key here. And then the other thing goes to the mental health bit. There's really a lot that is, you know, required, and there's a lot that is, you know, really at stake when it comes to mental health. But one thing I would say is, let's begin from everywhere we are. Let's begin from, you know, all the small things to ensure that, you know, we get back to, you know, to influence the policy on mental health from up here. If we cannot begin from up to down, then let's begin from down, going up. Probably one day we shall be able to influence this country to do something on mental health, and, you know, localize it and, you know, make it known everywhere. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, then thank you so much. Winnie, kindly your brief closing remarks.
Yeah, some have been mentioned. Maybe mine is on economic empowerment. It's a call to government and maybe other development organization. They should come on board and support the KPs. They are willing to take part. They were willing to be mentored, trained, and get some other skills. Yeah, the only thing lacking is the support. Yeah, that is my closing remarks.
Thank you so much. Nze eddoboozi lyange ligenda eri ababaka ba palamenti, kati okugeza nga best bagimensioninze nti bagiggale nti best eri mu Lubaga South etwalibwa Aloysius, ye mubaka wa palamenti owa Lubaga eyo best weeri. Singa bwe babadde bagenda okuggalawo best, obanga bapulaninga ogenda okuggalawo best, basoose ne bakwatagana ne member palamenti wa constituency eyo, n'asooka ayogerako n'abakyala abo okufuna wa we badda, oba n'obutabaweebuula, naye gwe bw'ova eri n'ogaba baggalewo n'ofulumya ku mawulire, kitegeeza nti abantu bano oba baleetedde okuyisibwamu nnyo amaaso mu komiti zaabwe ze babeera. Tukwatagana nnyo ne bame ba palamenti abatutwala, kuba buli organisation weeri oba buli neeko waali waakolera waliwo omubaka palamenti atwalawo. Kitegeeza tusooke nga tutule ne ba palamenti tumwane ku maloboozi gaffe agazzeeyo mu palamenti.
It's her humble appeal to the Member of Parliament of Rubaga, where where Best Hotel is located. This hotel was mentioned that is going to be closed because it's a brothel, and then she says that she's appealing to the Member of Parliament Aloysius to at least, before even this was being mentioned in Parliament, they would have reached out on the grassroots, engage the sex workers in that place to find out the challenges, to find mitigation solutions to how are they going to operate thereafter, where are they going to go after. At least they should be knowing the challenges they are facing from the grassroots and engaging the Member of Parliament, not just them sitting wherever they are and make decisions without having their views aired.
Okay, then thank you so much, ladies. This has been really, really insightful. It's been brilliant. I really appreciated this conversation. To the viewers at large, this is a conversation that does not involve a sort of umbrella thing. It involves the lives of real people with real experiences, with families, with friends. It is a topic that requires us to actually interface with these people. Decisions should not be made in boardrooms whilst you've locked out the actual people that this will be affecting. So my call to everyone involved is to actually humanize this conversation. Talk to the people involved. Realize that you're making decisions on the lives of actual human beings, and for every decision you make, a life will be thoroughly affected. So as we go forth, I urge us all to put aside whatever our moral standings might be, and realize that we're all human beings, and as all human beings, we all matter. This has been a really brilliant conversation, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. My name is Danita, and I have been your host. Have a good afternoon.